Second.
No motions to saunter tonight, okay?
Still have 15 seconds, but we'll.
It is 6 PM on May 14th, 2019. This is the time and place set for the meeting of the Roy City Planning Commission. Will you please rise and join Commissioner Karas, who leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a few people here. Okay. Agenda item number 1. Do any of the members of the commission have any conflict to declare at this time? There being none, we'll move on to item number 2. I will accept a motion for approval of the March 12, 2019 regular minutes.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 3, it's approval of the April 9th, 2019 regular minutes. Is there a motion for approval?
I move that we approve the minutes for April 9th.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4 is approval of the April 23rd, 2019 work session minutes. I'll accept a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, all of the minutes are approved. We will move to item number 5. Item number 5 is going to be a public hearing to consider a request for the following property located at approximately 5713 South, 3100 West. It will be, the first part of it will be to amend the general plan, the future land use map, from low density to single-family residential to medium-density single-family residential, and to amend the zoning map from RE20 residential estates to R18 single-family residence. Is there the opponent here? Would you please come up, stand at the microphone up here, give us your name and your address, and tell us what you want us to know.
It's Kenneth Lawrence, 5644 South, 3150 West, Roy, Utah. The neighbors in the subdivision to the north, we had some questions. We don't really. Go.
Are you the proponent? Are you the applicant for this?
Are you the applicant for this? Okay.
Okay, this isn't
You-
a public hearing yet.
Please go back to your chair. We'll give you no wonder this other gentleman looked so confused.
I was like, all right, whatever. All right, so my name is Dean Cardwell. I am here in representation of Mr. Jenkins, who's the property owner, on this case. And obviously, we're looking to do as you had suggested, modify the general or amend the general map and the zoning map and the general plan for the property. And looking at the property to the north, I think all your packets will show this on the general plan. Everything is showing as residential uses around, just depending on the density. We're trying to essentially do the R18 zoning for this property with the intention of going to 8 lots in a subdivision, which will be the next item. But the purpose of that, and it meets, what we feel is it meets the general area that's out there. The R110 to the north, obviously a little bit bigger for 10,000 square foot lots. All but one of the lots on the proposed subdivision we are doing will be over 10,000 square feet, even with the reduced zoning use that we're asking for. Everything on the east side is also R18, and to the south, there's a couple pockets, well, that small pocket of R17, and then further to the south, R17 with the residential 20 immediately to the south on that one lot. So I feel, like I said, that we feel the proposed changes are in line with what the neighboring developments are, and respectfully request the commission's recommendation for approval. But I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Does any of the commissioners have a question?
No.
Being none, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Parkinson?
As mentioned, this is on the southwest corner of 3100 West and 5700 South. It is currently zoned RE20 with a single-family home on it. As you mentioned, to the north, as you can see here, and to the east and northeast of this property, it is developed as single-family residential. To the north, exactly to the north, as shown on the zoning map, which is to the right, in that green, that's R110, so 10,000 square foot lots. But the kind of the sunshine yellow is R18, 8,000 square foot lots. The general plan calls this area to be low density, but again, the zoning map, even the general plan map shows medium density, single family, all the way around it. So staff does feel that it is consistent with what's around the neighborhood. If it's R110, R18 zoning, again, it's still single family homes, smaller than the RE20 as zoned now. So staff would recommend approval with the conditions as mentioned in the staff report.
Okay. Then I would accept a motion to open the public meeting.
I move that we go into public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being no. We're now in public meeting, okay? Now you can come up.
It's Kenneth Lawrence again, 5644 South, 3150 West, Roy, Utah. Can I give this to you, Steve? Just so that you have a copy. Had a good conversation with Steve yesterday on exactly what the definition of R18 is that we had concern thinking it was apartment buildings facing into that, yeah, exactly,
Not.
no. So we had some concerns about that. Then talked with Steve yesterday, and he graciously pointed to me where the definition of R18 is, and so I was able to download that and share that with the neighbors. But some of our concerns are that we want to make sure that it matches the subdivision that we're in, if the houses face into our area. And so within our CC&R, there's minimum requirements. And I'd like to make sure that we are able to apply most of those to those houses that are in that area, which includes a 2-car garage, minimum square footage, vinyl fencing, a minimum square footage, if that's applicable, no vinyl or aluminum siding, no leasing or renting for 1 year, and no on-street parking for greater than 24 hours, no tin sheds, and the developer's required to landscape the front yard. Those are most of the concerns, and what I did was I looked at the minimum dwelling requirements in our CC&R and applied them to that. Any questions?
Are there any questions from the commissioners? No. No, okay. The next item on the agenda is going to be the preliminary approval of the subdivision.
Are there any other public comments?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
get the
no,
comments
I'm
first.
going to go there in a second. I'm just trying to tell this gentleman, the things that you talked about have to do with the subdivision. Okay, the item that we're actually voting on right now is whether to change the zoning. Okay, so you may have another opportunity to come up and say something else. Is there anyone else that wants to address us on this matter? Come on up. Same rules. Name.
Hi, my name is John Beck. I live at 5693 South, 3150 West. Just a bunch of our neighbors in our subdivision had the same concern that Kenneth did, that it was going to be townhomes or apartments. And once we were informed by Steve that that was a relief of that issue.
Right.
I have no issue with the proposed plan. So that's just to comment that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. How about anyone else? There being none, then I'll, so,
I move we close the public hearing.
is there a second to close the public hearing?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will vote on this matter now.
Can I address some of the concerns that Kenneth brought up?
Yes, sir.
The zoning ordinance does require that all single-family homes have two-car garages, well, two-car parking. The unfortunate part is city ordinances versus CC&Rs. With this, it would have to be up to the developer and property owner to put in CC&Rs. The city can't necessarily say, okay, this particular subdivision has these requirements. I can only deal with what the ordinance currently states. So, the size of the home, Roy doesn't,
I picked that out by random.
yeah, you're okay. The city doesn't have a minimum size of the house, leasing and stuff like that. I mean, the parking requirement is citywide. Tin sheds, those type of things. The landscaping, it is required within 18 months of the home being occupied, it has to be landscaped. So that's a citywide, so, that may,
And it's already facing into a subdivision that is
correct,
done, and that's why,
right. Yeah,
that's
so
concern of.
some of these, unfortunately, we can't enforce because they're not in the ordinances right now. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be, get with the council and stuff to have it installed. But as of right now, some of these we can do and most of them we can't. So,
We do not have the legal authority to require the developer to do CCNRs. He has to comply with city ordinance or county ordinance, whichever is appropriate.
And I think the subdivision in which he's in has an HOA. I understand it and I don't understand it to a sense, just because they have, back of their, north of it is 5600 South, and they didn't want, the ordinance doesn't allow for double facing lots, so having the front on one street and the back on another street. So to get around that, the developer provided a landscape strip with no access across it. And the unfortunate part is all these homes now have to take care of a 5 foot wide by
Right.
however far. So with the HOA, then you can encompass CC&Rs to make it a better development. The other bad thing about CC&Rs is at any time the development can, after the fact, go change them to minimize the requirements. So again, why the city usually has their own, and if the CC&Rs want to be more strict, they can. So,
Okay. All righty.
So we've got two motions coming up on this.
correct, and do each one individually.
Okay.
Okay. Then I would consider a motion to amend the general plan, the future land use map, from low-density, single-family residential to medium-density, single-family residential.
I'll make a motion that we amend the general plan from low-density, single-family residential to medium-density, single-family residential.
Roll call.
I'll second that.
We have a second?
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Cowley,
Aye.
Commissioner Spar,
Aye.
Commissioner Karras,
Aye.
Commissioner Collins,
Aye.
Chair Brand.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We will now consider a motion to amend the zoning map from RE 20 residential estates to R 18 single-family residence. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we do.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Who? Okay. Chair Brand,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Aye.
Commissioner Spar,
Aye.
Commissioner Cowley,
Aye.
Commissioner Karras.
Yes.
That also passes. Just so everybody knows, this will be on the first June meeting for the city council, so June, my phone's over here, 4th or something like that. So they'll come to the city council meeting at that time. Planning commission is just a recommending body, so
It's June 4th.
June 4th.
Okay. We will now move on to item number 6. This is also a public hearing to consider a request for the preliminary subdivision approval of Glenn Jenkins subdivision for a property located approximately 5713 South, 3100 West.
Can I
Yes,
put
sir.
something in here, just so that the audience understands the difference between the two subdivisions? If you look at the agenda or the screen, the first one for the general plan amendment and the rezone, it says legislative item. Again, that's an item on which the state mandates the planning commission become a recommended body, and the planning, or the city council make the actual determination. The difference between this public hearing and the last one is this is more administrative, as in, does it meet the ordinance of today? Does it have the right width, lot size, and stuff like that? So even though it's a public hearing, our ordinance requires a public hearing, the planning commission will vote, does it meet the ordinance? So you'll be able to comment, but bring comments that have fact to them. There's evidence of some sort. Is there a natural spring, or is there other things that the planning commission need to be brought to attention so we can address it?
Then I will consider a motion for,
Let's have the proponent.
after I hear from the proponent. Thank you, sir. Get on with this.
Hello,
State your name
Commissioners.
again, please.
Yes, Dean Cardwell. Happy to kind of answer any questions you have, but it's more or less the same thing. This is just a subdivision outline that shows the 8 proposed lots we're intending to do, one of which contains the existing residence for Mr. Jenkins, who owns the property. But yeah, welcome any questions the commission may have.
Do any of the commissioners have questions?
So just based off of what you said earlier, all of these lots except for one would be over 10,000
Correct.
square feet.
Correct. Yeah, the depth of the lots exceeds the amount that's needed. So there's 65-foot minimum width, which is a requirement of R18, but the depth makes it such that they're over 10,000 square feet. The exception is Lot 2, which fronts the 3,100. That lot is, I think, just shy of 9,000. It's just because of the depth.
Are you going to have a homeowners association with this development?
It's not anticipated we are going to do a homeowners association now.
Okay. Have you talked to any of the neighbors and whatnot about the concerns that were expressed here earlier?
Not at this point, no. This is the first I had heard of the concerns,
And-
but we're certainly open to
But you're
hearing
more
them
than
out.
willing to do that,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
And try to
absolutely. We're
try
willing to talk to
mitigate
them
it.
and find out what
Okay.
we can do to make things work.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Parkinson?
Okay, as mentioned, this is just the subdivision portion of it, and I want to caveat the whole thing prior to is all this approval is subject to city council approving the general plan amendment and the rezone. If they deny any one of those,
We're done.
then this is null and void. So again, it's all conditioned on that. They're going off the assumption that, again, it's rezoned, so they proceeded forward. They have that ability to do this. Again, I just wanted to let everybody know that it's conditioned on. But assuming that it's R18, for the most part, as you can see within the staff report, that meets the ordinance. I think there were some comments that I hadn't included in here from the DRC. Did I send those out, or? Then I haven't received everybody's comments, but I can send it both to the applicant and planning commission. I don't think there was a huge amount of items that were of concern, but again, most of those of concern would not generally be of the water line, using the right pipe type and size and color and those type of things. Staff will make sure that the lot widths, lot sizes meet the ordinance. But again, looking at it, there's no big issues that are alarming in that aspect. The only one is if the zone doesn't get approved.
Okay.
So staff would recommend approval with the conditions as mentioned in the staff report.
Okay. Does anyone want to address anything Mr. Parkinson just said? Good. Then I will entertain a motion to,
Public hearing.
consider the preliminary subdivision approval of
Go to
Glen
public
Jing-
hearing.
Huh?
Gotta go to public
I
hearing.
thought- I thought we were in the public hearing.
No.
Okay, then I'll consider a motion to have a public hearing.
I move that we go into public hearing.
Is there a second?
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, we are now in public hearing. So anyone else who wants to tell us anything about this item, please come up, give your name and your address.
I'm D.L. Thurman at 4953 South, 3100 West, and I own the big barn down on 4800 by the railroad tracks. And I got people wanting to buy the barn, and I'd like to know if there's some things I can tell them that they can't do with that barn. It's own manufacturing.
I can answer that question. Again, this is a part of a public hearing, so we'll take your thoughts and opinions or comments, and then when the public hearing closes, then we'll answer your questions.
We'll give you an answer, but after anybody else gets to talk.
What's that?
Said we will give you an answer, but we're going to let other people talk first, and then we'll talk to you about what
Okay.
you just asked. Okay?
Should I just stay here and wait?
Just stay here and wait.
We'll do it.
It's government. Stay here and wait.
Anybody else?
Anybody else want to join us? No? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Go ahead, Jason.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Mr.
To
Parkinson.
answer
now-
Mr. Thurman's question,
Thurman's question.
it wasn't part of this particular project, but and I don't have a map for it or anything to give you. He owns that barn just next to a West Park subdivision, just east of the railroad tracks. Hopefully you guys can now picture it. It is zone manufacturing, light manufacturing for that case. What can they do with it? Use-wise, anything that's allowed in the zone. The list is a little too long for me to recite, but I can give you a copy of it if you want, or email it to you. They would just have to come under, because it's kind of grandfathered as a barn for storage of the stuff you've got, any changes to it, they'd have to come up with today's standards, parking, landscaping, and whatnot. But the list of uses are out there in which you can
I'm
do.
not sure what the people wanted to do with it.
But I
The
can,
guy owns a construction company that's interested.
right. I believe a construction company can work within a light manufacturing. I just don't have my ordinance with me. So if you want to come back in the office,
We
or,
were gonna come in and talk to you.
okay, then I can kind of give you the list of what's,
I just wanted to know if he tells me something that you can't do, I'll just tell you.
yeah, I can give you the list of uses that are allowed. So if you come back in, I'll sit down with you and show you what's listed.
I just got too much real estate in Rowan. Start selling.
Okay? So,
But
Okay.
Scott, let me ask you another question. What can I do, you know where I live, right?
uh-huh.
What can I do behind my house there, where I got 3.5 acres back there? Does that have to be subdivision?
If you want to develop as a subdivision, you can. You can sell the house and the acreage is just all as one. Someone can just use it for,
I don't wanna move.
as a single-family home. Yeah, so you could subdivide it. But come and talk with me.
Okay.
I had someone ask me about your property, so I'll give you his name and number and stuff
I'm
later.
getting too old to cut weeds every day.
Yeah, I'll give you his name and number so you can contact with him.
Thank you.
Huh?
Okay, thank you. Item number 7.
Nope, get a motion.
Gotta have a
Get
motion.
approve
Oh,
this.
I forget. Okay. Is there a
He's in a
motion to
hurry.
close the public hearing?
They closed it.
We've closed it. Now we need to get a vote on the motion.
Too many meetings today. Is there a motion to recommend
Nope.
approval
To approve.
We have to,
of this?
Oh, wait, no, this
item?
is still recommending.
how about I bail you out? I move that we approve the subdivision of Glenn Jenkins subdivision located at approximately 5713 South, 3100 West with the conditions as stated within the staff report.
Is there a second? Okay.
Who seconded it?
I-
Collins? It's not a roll call vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? There being none, motion passed. That'll be recommended to the city council.
No, we did that. The city council's got to do their part.
Yeah, okay, we'll move on to 7 now. And that's to consider a request for conditional use approval for Jacob Farnsworth to use 9.74 acres, or approximately 424,274.4 square feet of land within the power corridor for livestock on the property located at approximately 3240 west, 6000 south. This is the applicant here. Please come up, give us your name, tell us where you live, and then tell us what you want to know about your application.
Or what we want to know, yeah.
My name is Jacob Farnsworth. I live at 5177 West, 5700 South, so just right next to the dog park. There's nothing I need to know about the application itself. I guess my only question would be, how often does the conditional use permit need to be renewed? It doesn't. I believe in the documents that you sent me, where everything was explained to me. I guess the one point that I would make is that skinnier section to the north is zoned RE20. So that one actually doesn't need to be included in the conditional use permit. It is already allowed to have livestock on there, based on my understanding.
Because it is owned by Pacific Corp, they don't have, they're not gonna put animals on it. So that's why I included it in this, just to give you more acreage, to give you more animals.
Okay. Sounds good. So I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, before you let me ask if any of the commissioners have questions of you.
Sure.
Are there any? There being none? Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Parkinson?
As you mentioned, this is just a request for a conditional use permit to allow for livestock on properties that, as zoned, are, I believe, most of them are R17, which generally does not allow for livestock, but there was a provision put in the ordinance, I'll say 2.5 years ago or so, for anything within that power corridor to be able to utilize the land. Both the Planning Commission and City Council thought it was a great idea, because now we can utilize something that generally grows weeds. Horses or livestock are gonna keep that down, so kind of help the neighborhood. And again, a lot of those parcels are large, in this case, almost 10 acres that would normally not be used, can be used now. There was a gentleman who, 2 years ago, who started the process, who originally was able to do on this land. I'm not sure what happened with him, but then Mr. Farnsworth came to me and kind of gave him all the information that he needed to do. He has gotten with Pacific Corp to be able to lease the land, which you see in your packet, the affidavit saying that he'll be able to do that, listing the parcel numbers and stuff, but it meets the ordinance in all aspects, so staff would recommend approval. To answer his question, conditional uses don't need to be renewed. So as long as you're using the land, it's yours to use. Unless Pacific Corp says you gotta renew their lease, but then that's between you and them.
That's a contract matter. Okay, is there a motion for approval of this item?
I recommend that Planning Commission approves the conditional use permit for Jacob Farnsworth to allow domestic livestock grazing on approximately 9.74 acres owned by Pacific Corp., located approximately 3177 west, 5700 south, with the condition as stated within the report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Motion passed. Item number 8 is a continuing request for architectural approval for Heritage Park located at approximately 5550 south, 2700 west. Again, if you are the applicant or the guy that has all the building materials in his hand.
I brought Steve a paperweight. Would you like this here?
Sure,
You
that
guys-
works.
I was asked to bring some samples for the colors and architectural features of what we're trying to do at Heritage Park. So I also provided Steve a digital one.
Yeah, they got it in their
You got one?
packets.
We got it.
What else would you like me to tell you? If you can remember, we're adding a U-shaped driveway for drop-off of patients at the front door, which there currently is not, and a covered portico for those patients if there's rain or whatever. But basically removing landscaping in the front of the building there and adding the U-shaped driveway and drop-off with the portico. And then this is reflective of what we are attempting to do on that facility to help bring it up to the times a little bit.
Okay. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Did you get any headway with them with replacing the windows in the facility?
Yes, we are. Part of the plans is to replace all the windows and the walls where the window goes in between the brick, so we'll be replacing those so that but the driving factor behind this project is an energy sustainability upgrade to the building, and that's a portion of why we're doing this, so. But yes, we're doing new windows.
So in the rendering here that Steve has up on the screen, I love the portico. It's got the materials there that you brought. That does look a lot nicer than the concrete slabs that were in the original.
Yeah.
So around the windows, is it going to be white material now? Because right now it's got kind of that river rock stuff. Is this accurate as to what it will?
No. At the moment, we've got planned to do like an EFS system, stucco around the windows. But we have talked about adding rock underneath the windows. It's not represented on the drawing, but
Yeah, the unfortunate part is any exterior changes the planning commission needs to approve.
okay.
So if you're gonna do EFS or of some sort, then we'll need to,
When you come to a final decision, you need to come back and
Okay,
give us another shot at you.
okay, is that gonna hold up permit, or how's that?
well, the unfortunate, if you're gonna not do anything to the exterior of the building, no.
Okay,
But if you are gonna change the materials of the building, then yes.
Yes.
okay,
It won't necessarily say yes to the portico and the U-shaped stuff, because there's still a few things that were within the staff report from the DRC that need to be completely resolved before I can sign off on that type of stuff.
okay,
So if you, at the moment, if you just say, we're not gonna make any changes to the exterior, then I could probably sign off and let you start on the HVAC and electrical and stuff, even the windows, and then when you figure out what kind of colors and stuff, then we can come back and it'll just be a simple,
yeah,
we like it and, approve it.
okay. As far as colors go, these are the colors, and right now we are not changing to rock under the windows.
Yeah. Do you guys wanna see the rock, or do you?
Look pretty heavy to me. I
It's a
can
little
see
heavy,
it from here.
yeah.
The guys over there can't. We can look at them when we leave.
So,
But that's what you're gonna put around the posts for your over the cover, right?
Yes, that's correct, the rock, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would love to see that by the windows and on that entryway. In the rendering here, it still shows kind of the river rock. And I love the new look. I think that would be a lot
and
classier.
again, the planning
Look to
commission, you
it,
do have
so.
the ability that if you like this material, that he's gotten presented, you can say, okay, approve it for that subject that, at least some sort of, I don't know if this, is that the ephes color is gonna be gray?
Yes, up in the right-hand corner, yes.
So he has kind of presented some colors to you
Which is also represented here on this board, so.
for the exterior of the building. So you
I've
can,
got the ephes color here, metal, the soffit underneath, rock around the bottom of the pillars. So,
so if you have enough information, you can prove the exterior changes now.
So if
I
I
didn't
understand.
realize there was ephes until I started looking at it going, what is that?
If I understand you, he's given us the examples of the things that he's going to use, so we could make a motion to approve, subject that when he does do it, he does it with
Those
those
materials and
things,
colors.
materials that are on
Yep.
that palette.
Yep.
Are there any other exterior changes that you would like to make that we haven't talked about up to this point?
No, not as right now, no. There's nothing been talked about other than what you see there.
And if we approve all this, then you won't have to come back?
Correct.
Well, I don't want.
Unless I make a change, correct?
Yeah, unless you make different changes or add different things to it.
Okay.
And that would include the entryway that right now is kind of the river rock as well, is that correct?
Well,
Correct. Okay.
he's got the materials on the ephes, around the windows and the rock underneath it. So if you feel comfortable with those colors and those materials, you could approve it tonight. Even though the drawings don't necessarily show it, if that's what he's describing, because I don't think you're gonna change the brick, just that pebbled rock that are around the windows.
Correct.
So you'll have gray stucco and the rock underneath it. I
Okay.
can, if you want, we can even, he can give me a rendering and I can send it to you, if that be one of the conditions that you get.
Be happy to do that.
I just figured, because I like the direction this is headed. I just want to make sure that we're clear in here what
So just
we're,
Make sure, put it in
what
your
we're
motion,
doing,
whatever
so.
conditions or
So
whatever.
now you're gonna have to make the motion, just get it worded properly.
Well,
But I'm okay with that. I think we ought to take a look at that so that he can proceed, but I'm comfortable with what he's proposing, so if the rest of you are, then,
yeah.
I mean, the colors meet the ordinance.
then let's have a vote. I need a motion.
we need a motion, and Steve can help adjust the motion if we need to. So is this two motions again?
Nope,
Nope, just
because
all
we
one.
already, we did the site plan condition on the
Okay,
conditions in the staff report. I just gave you the same staff report, so you
Okay.
kind of had it, remembered what it was.
so this is architectural
Yeah,
review
this is just
and
the
conditions.
architectural,
Okay,
because it was tabled last meeting.
okay, so
Okay, so
your
I'll,
best.
I'll make a motion that we approve the architectural, I'll make a motion that we do architectural approval for Heritage Park located at 5550 South, 2700 West, according to the materials that have been presented here with, or substantially similar. I mean, it's close enough, so substantially similar to the materials that have been presented here and according to the guidelines outlined in the staff report.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay?
Roll.
Huh?
No.
No
Go ahead.
nays, okay.
Substantially, okay.
Substantially
Thank you.
similar.
Thank you.
I've been around the legislature too long, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
I'm like, wow, okay. Gotta make that part of the motion.
Well, that way, if there's one little thing I hate to.
Okay, item number 9 is the commissioner's minute. Does anybody want to take a minute here or more, if you wish, to make a comment? We'll move on to item number 10, staff update. Mr. Parkinson.
Don't really have much update. The paper took some of my thunder.
For those of us who don't take the paper,
Or watch the news, or,
The demolition?
not since the election, but go ahead.
the Chinese Gourmet Building, there on the kind of Riverdale Road, 1900 West, will be demoed. I'm not quite sure how soon or what, but we got with Woodbury and convinced them to demo it. No buildings or plans to put something in its place or proposed yet, but at least we can get that lovely 1970s architecture,
Gone.
I'll use that word,
Is this part of the city's beautification plan?
part of it.
Okay.
Again, it was, it's a building that not even Woodbury wanted to continue to have an existence. It's lived its life and needed to be removed. They were just hesitant to do it now, just because they had no plans, and the city kind of helped convince them that now is a great time.
Okay.
You know, kind of help the corner, alleviate some of the lack of architecture, we'll call it, on that part, building's part. Other than that, most of the projects that we've got are going smoothly and on their way.
Okay.
Don't know if you have any questions or anything.
Will we have a work session this month?
We will, we gotta finish our training for the year.
Okay.
So we will have a meeting in 2 weeks.
Good. Okay.
Again, just watch a couple videos. This will be more of legalese, from David Church of the,
Is the videos of David?
yeah,
Okay.
so.
I'm okay with that. All right. There being nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll adjourn in second.
I'll second it. Go for it.
We're gonna give that to Colin.
All in favor?
Aye.
The last tie went to Cowley, so.
Any opposed? Yeah, the tie goes to the last one. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here and your input.
Okay, well done, guys.
Yeah, we got through.
It's always rewarding to drive around the city and see things you've approved and see it's going up.
And everything's running smoothly.